this is the new M8 Freestyle HD from Happymodel. Now this is a 2 to 3S swoop that weighs just 33.3 grams. What makes this possible is what you see here in the middle, the new HDZero AIO15 flight controller. Just like the AIO5, this is a 4-in-1 board that contains your flight controller, HDZero digital FPV, a 15 amp ESC, as well as an Express LRS receiver. What we're going to do today is give you an overview of the M8 Freestyle HD quad, but we're also going to be taking a very close look at this new flight controller from HDZero that is going to allow you to make smaller and lighter 2 to 3S builds with a digital FPV system than we've been able to do before. Now, just before we get into this one, I do want to be clear in saying that HDZero did send me over this quad with their AIO to take a look at for free. However, they've not paid me to make this video. They've not seen this video before it's been published. And as always, my thoughts are entirely my own. Before we look at this new AIO in a bit more detail, I just want to talk about the quad. The M8 Freestyle is an 80mm wheelbase whoop. It comes fitted with 45mm props. Motor-wise, it has the Happymodel RS1102s, which are 13500 kV, and it is designed to run on a 2S 550 mAh battery. You can see here that it has an XT30 power input. Now, as I've said, this quad weighs less than 33.5 grams. If we just pop it on my scales, just to prove this to you, I'm going to pop on my 50-gram test weight first of all, and then if we pop the quad on, you will see that it comes in without the battery at just 33.26 grams. Now, all of this is possible because of this new HDZero AIO15. This is a 4-in-1, as I've said already, so it contains a flight controller based on the STM32G473 MCU that is running at 170 MHz with 5112K of flash. That uses the ICM Forsu 688P gyro, and it has both onboard voltage and current monitoring. Alongside that, we then have a built-in 15 amp ESC per channel that is based on BlueJay around the EFM8BB21 microcontrollers. You can see them under there. It supports up to 15 amp on each ESC output and is D-Shot 600 ready as well. We then also have built-in Express LRS. You can actually see the antenna for that going along the board. This is a serial Express LRS receiver supporting all of the usual packet rate options up to F1000 Hz, and it has a pre-soldered antenna wire for that stretching along the board there. You can then see that sticking up at the front, and it supports a telemetry output power of 12 dBm, and that is based on your typical Express LRS chipset, the SX chipset, not the newer dual band chipsets. Finally, obviously this board has HDZero built in as well, based around their Lux camera. The HDZero Lux camera is a 1/2-inch sensor supporting 720p 60 frames a second with a rolling shutter, and that is the same camera that we saw available with the original AIO5. Obviously, then, we have the HDZero chipset on the board. It supports all of the usual modes for HDZero, including that 720p 60 frames a second, and it has a maximum RF output of 200 milliwatts, but you can also set it to 25 milliwatts as well. And there is a UFL antenna connector for that one that you can see there that is mounted on the back of the quad. There is also a 5V 3A BEC on board as well, and all of that comes in on a single board for just 7.2 grams with the motor plugs pre-installed. Now, obviously, this board is designed for whoops. It has our usual 25.5 by 25.5 mounting pattern, and the board size is 31.3 by 31.3 millimeters. Now, looking around this board in a bit more detail, you can see that we have our firmware update port on the top here for our HDZero system. We then underneath have a connector over here for connecting into our flight controller with Betaflight. There is an adapter for that included in the box with the quad. Okay, so taking a look at the board under the microscope. Now we're on the bottom side here, so that's the top left corner. You can see our motor plugs. Here you can see our STM32G473 flight controller. So that's our main MCU running Betaflight. Then to the left, you will find our ESP8685 as well as our SX1280 chipset. That's our Express LRS area. You've got your buttons there. You'll then see down here that you've got the antenna connection coming out and going through the PCB, and that heads over to this side here. Now, what is interesting is up here next to our ESP8685 looks to be, and to me, that looks like a little PCB chip antenna. I could be wrong. But what is also interesting is there appears to be another one of them on this side of the board as well. But there also appears to be a bit of a PCB trace going around there. That almost looks like there's a chip antenna on this side with the Express LRS antenna. And that's just that length of copper that heads up there. But interesting. Need to look into that a little bit more. Then looking around the rest of this board is pretty much all ESC. So if I come down the bottom here, we've got a couple of other chipsets. We've got voltage regulation, our gyro. And then if I look around, you've got your BB21 chipsets for your ESC. And then you've got your FETs, which are all of these 3060s located around the board. So you've got your motor driver and FETs. And then in this top corner up here, we've got voltage regulation and filtering up to where we have that USB input. And then there's a voltage protection diode there. There are also pads located all around the corner of this board. I will pop up an image on the screen in a minute and we'll have a look at what all of them do separately. Flipping then over to the other side of the board, you can then see our DiviMath chipsets. We've got the DM6300, the TechPoint chipset, as well as the DM5680. This is all our HDZero stuff. We've then got a few more FETs and motor drivers. So again, you can see we've got the CP5405. Interesting. Our power amplifier, heading off to our antenna for HDZero, and then we got some more FETs, BB21 motor drivers, and then our FETs. You can see our current shunt sensor resistor there, and then we've got pads up here. That's where our analog camera comes in, our analog HD camera from HDZero. And then really, that's pretty much it. Now, as I mentioned, the manual for this has everything labelled, and it even labels those little blue chips that I was talking about earlier. And yes, they are internal Express LRS antennas. So there's an external antenna, which is this one here, but there's also an internal chip antenna available as well. Now, here you can see the labelling of all of the pads around the board. So you can see we've got TX and RX4, ground, 4.5 volt, back output, TX RX3, we've got our 2 to 3S battery input, our VTX LED, our buzzers, we've got our then HDZero analog HD camera input for these boards, and then you've got your back output down here. And then if we flip to the bottom, it gives us a bit of a better indication of all of the other pads. So again, Express LRS Wi-Fi antenna, that's the one up there. We've got our FC button, which is that one closest to the flight controller, our Express LRS button, closest to the Express LRS, and then all of our motor pads outputs. Okay, so just to look at that board again, but in a full view this time. So whilst not quite as in much detail, a bit more than you could see from the overhead earlier. So as I've said, on the top side, we've got our DiviMath chipsets, we've got everything else pretty much what we expected. Again, HDZero have taken what they learned with that AIO5, which is that incredible packaging. It's really hard to do what they're doing here. Flight control, ESC, digital FPV, and receiver all in one. All of that is going to want to interfere with each other, yet they've designed it in such a way that it keeps it all working and all apart from an electrical perspective. And then if I flip over to the other side, you can see here in a bit more detail with that flight controller. And again, just marvel to see the packaging involved here. To be able to get all of this in a package of this size is just incredible. Now, just to show you what you get in the box with the M8 as standard, when you open the box, you will find a couple of leaflets from Happymodel. We have the M8 itself, and then we have a little bag with some spare props, as well as an adapter for connecting our USB port to the flight controller. We've got a couple of other little accessories as well, a screwdriver, a couple of spare cables, and that's about it, looking at it. Okay, so just to take you for a quick flight around the trees here with this new quad. Now, this isn't my first flight. I've done a couple already just to get the grips with it. Overall, settings out the box come really nice. It is really windy here today, so please do take that into account. About the only change I have had to make is I've just increased throttle expo a little bit. Just going to do some laps around these trees. Also, I will say that I'm not a big fan of the OSD. Oh, wind. Sorry, it is particularly blowy. Let's come out into the field a little bit just to show you. It is really windy here today. That'll just give you a view of how the HDZero Lux camera looks on this from the field. A little bit of vibration on the footage, but nothing shocking. About the only thing I would complain about is the OSD configuration is a little bit strange. They have the temperature warning right in the middle of the screen, and I don't know why. Now, obviously, I am not a big Whoop pilot. I'm barely a pilot at the best of times. I have to say, though, I think this quad flies really nicely. Really great to see what HDZero have done here in such a small platform. You know, 2S in this is just going to give you so much power and so much battery life. I've done a few flights on this and it just keeps going. One complaint I always have with 1S Whoops is it's over before you start, which is the story of my life. However, on flying, it really can seem like you're in the air for 10 seconds, whereas this, it just gives you so much more time. Just doing laps, I'm still getting used to it. Let's go that way. This is probably going to be a bit of a boring view for you. This isn't the greatest of footage. I can't head out too far. Head over there, head over there. Ooh, go behind the bushes there a bit. Let's head down that way. Not really a lot to show you down here. But I have to say, this new AIO15 is just going to open up so many possibilities. It really is. Battery level, even now, is showing 3.61 volts from that much flight time. I've not got a timer up because I've left the OSD as it is. So I can't really tell you how much flight time we're going to get. But what I'll do is have a look in post editing. I'm behind a wall here. I'm literally behind that concrete wall which I'm leaning up against. There's me there. But yes, this is just going to give you, and it's got so much power. You know, there's tons of power here to get yourself out of trouble if you want to. This is a lot of fun. I'll be honest with you. This, if you want to get into learning to fly whoops, obviously it's not the smallest, it's not a cine whoop. Oh, we had a battery flash then. I think we're pretty much there on this one. Just going to keep going until I get the battery flash again, just so we can time it. But yeah, if you want to learn, it's really easy to fly. It's a nice size. You can take it outside when there is a bit of wind. Let's go back through there, shall we? We're still going. We're not flashing battery voltage yet. Oh, well, there we go. I ran out of skill, so that's going to end that one. Don't worry, all is still well. It was not all lost. Fresh battery. And we'll just finish up by here. So yeah, I have to say, overall, I really like this little quad. What I am going to do is do a bit more footage. It's windy as hell here today, so it's getting pushed around all over the place. You know, even going through places like that, it's getting washed out really easily. Ooh. It's like it's on ice, just because of
the wind. But you can fly this really low if you want to as well. We can cut the grass with it if we want to, and then pop it out into the field. Oh, I can hear a dog. Yeah, a little bit of vibration, but this is, as I just mentioned earlier, this is where HDZero is at its best in this scenario, in this situation. There's nothing else that really comes close. Obviously, because this is a fixed frame, I can't adjust the camera angle, so you are sort of set at a fixed pace on this quad. If you want to go slow, you can slow it down, absolutely, just like I am there, just to show you. And you can then take it into the bushes if you want to. So let's go through. We can absolutely go into places like that with it. But what you can't do, obviously, is adjust the camera angle. Ooh, we're going to head back out there. You very quickly start to build up pace. Oh, again, upside down. Also, you obviously have angle mode available. Now that's what I'm in here. So if I just push forward, up and down, you can see it's moving. Some people prefer to fly in angle mode compared to acro. Depends obviously where you're flying, proximity, indoors, outdoors, etc. Obviously it is a shift in feeling depending on what mode you're flying in. Obviously angle has a very distinct feel to it. You know, it levels up. For me personally, I would generally fly something like this in acro mode. But yeah, simple as that.
Now, I've obviously been continuing to fly this quad, the M8, over the last few weeks, and I have to say, I really like it. It's not just about how it flies, though. It's about how good HDZero is in this type of situation. Just flying here in amongst the trees, the exposure control on these little HDZero cameras is phenomenal. You are flying, whether it's indoors or outdoors, the changing lighting conditions performance is brilliant. This is where HDZero excels. Other digital systems would completely fall apart in this situation, especially when it comes to the exposure control. What HDZero more than anything though is giving you here is flight time back, because this single board solution on 2S is giving you so much more flight time than you get on 1S. You're not sitting there chasing packs all of the time, 1-2 minutes max. You get plenty of flight time on this. There's plenty of power in this quad as well. I'm not the greatest pilot, but I enjoy this type of flying. I enjoy these little quads because you can have a bit of fun. I've obviously spent some time with it as well, putting it into some bushes and some trees. You'll see in a minute that we actually crash it a few times, and I'll show you how it turned out in the end. Again, both the quad and HDZero have held up absolutely fine. There is genuinely nothing I don't like about this quad. Now, as I've said, I have crashed it a number of times. I've not broke a duct. The plastics have held up quite nicely. About the only issue I did have in one crash, it did pull out one of the motor wires. It just disconnected, plugged it back in. It was absolutely fine. I, though, have to say, I really do like these little Lux cameras. They just perform so well. Other people will obviously talk about how they perform indoors. I've shown you it outdoors. I was predominantly flying with either the 450s or the 550s. And again, just as a learner whoop, just as something to potter around in a park, it's really unobtrusive, this quad, not loud at all, really quite quiet. You would fly this certainly around places where there are people around, and many may not even notice. Again, it's absolutely what I'd team a little park flyer, and there ain't much more out there that I would have more fun with than I have with this. Okay, so the last thing we need to talk about is pricing, because the AIO15, the board itself, is going to be available for $110. That is pre-US tariff pricing. And then as for the M8 quad, you're going to be able to get that for just $100 more, so $210 for the quad as you see it here today. It's going to be available to order from the HDZero website. There will be links to it in the description. Final thoughts. I'm going to keep this really simple. I love the board. I love the quad. What's not to like? This is where HDZero shines. This is really what HDZero does best. And again, driving things forward in a way that no one else is doing. And it's great to see. Nothing here I don't like at all. So if you want to get involved, you want to get yourself one, please do consider checking out the link in the description. Now, that's it from me on this one. I hope you found it useful. Please do let me know what you think below. Finally, I just want to say, if you are interested in supporting the channel, please do consider checking out the links to my Patreon as well as buy me a coffee. It is only through the support of my patrons I'm able to keep making content on this channel. And if you'd like to support us to make content in the future, I want to say a huge thank you to all of my patrons who have donated and continue to support the channel, because we would not be able to do this without your support. And if you'd like to support us, the link's in the description as well. Anyway, that's it from me. Stay safe. I will speak to you soon.